You don't notice night arriving at first. Not because it's gentle, but because it's sudden. In medieval life, there is no long, glowing sunset stretched thin by electric light. There is no gradual dimming of rooms. The sun slips low, shadows lengthen, and then, almost without warning, the world decides it's finished for the day. You feel it immediately. Work stops not because you're tired, but because you can no longer see well enough to continue without risking injury. Tools are put down carefully. Animals are herded closer. Doors are checked twice, not out of paranoia, but habit. Darkness here isn't symbolic. It's physical. It presses in from the edges of the village and settles between buildings like fog. Night changes how you move. You walk slower. You talk less. Your body already knows what's coming, because it has done this every day of your life. Sleep isn't a luxury waiting at the end of the evening, it's the only reasonable option left. Inside your home, the light is weak and uneven. Firelight doesn't fill rooms, it creates islands. Everything outside that small orange glow becomes suggestion rather than certainty. Walls disappear, corners stretch, sounds feel closer than they should. You eat your last meal early, not because you prefer it, but because food requires light, and light is expensive. Firewood took hours of labor. Candles are worse, made from animal fat or wax, saved carefully, burned reluctantly. Every flicker costs something. As the fire settles, conversation slows. Stories shorten. People yawn openly, without embarrassment. There is no concept of staying up late for pleasure. Night is not entertainment. Night is something to endure. Your body begins preparing before your mind does. Muscles loosen. Movements grow economical. You sit closer to the warmth, knees drawn in, conserving heat without thinking about it. This is not comfort. This is adaptation. Outside, the village doesn't sleep so much as quiet itself. Animals shift in their enclosures. Somewhere, a dog barks once and then stops. Wind moves through thatch and wood, finding gaps no builder ever fully closed. The sounds aren't alarming, but they are constant. Silence, when it comes, feels unnatural. You don't undress for bed the way you would expect to. Night is cold, and heat is precious. Clothes stay on. Layers stay where they are. Removing them would be foolish, almost indulgent. Sleep here isn't about softness, it's about maintaining enough warmth to make it to morning. Eventually, you move toward where you'll sleep. Not a bedroom, exactly. Just a space that becomes one at night. The fire dims. Someone stirs the embers, just enough to keep them alive without wasting fuel. Shadows crawl higher up the walls. Lying down is not the moment sleep begins. It's the moment vigilance changes shape. You are resting, yes, but still listening. Still aware. Still sharing space with others whose breathing, shifting, and murmured words remind you that sleep is communal here, not private. Darkness settles fully now, not metaphorically, literally, thick enough to feel. You close your eyes not to escape it, but because opening them no longer helps. This is how night arrives. Not softly, not kindly, just, inevitably. And this is how sleep begins, not as comfort, but as the next necessary act of survival. 2 homes after sunset. Your house, if it can be called that, changes its personality once the fire quiets down. During the day it is a place of movement, tools leaned against walls, food prepared, animals occasionally wandering too close to where they shouldn't be. At night, it becomes something tighter, smaller, as if the darkness presses the walls inward. You are suddenly aware of how thin everything is. The wood, the clay, the gaps between beams that daylight forgives but night remembers. Cold slides in through those places without asking permission. It settles low, along the floor, creeping toward you while the warmer air clings uselessly near the ceiling. There are no separate rooms the way you imagine them now. No clear divisions between where work happens and where rest is supposed to. What changes the space isn't architecture, it's behavior. The bench becomes a bed. The table becomes storage. The same ground that caught falling grain in the afternoon now holds bodies trying to rest. Firelight is rationed carefully. Someone decides when it's time to let it fade, and everyone accepts it without debate. There is nothing left to do once the light goes. No tasks that justify burning more fuel. Darkness is the signal that the day has ended, whether you feel finished with it or not. You lie where you can. Closer to the fire if you're lucky. Farther away if you're not. Position matters. Proximity to warmth can mean the difference between shallow sleep and a night spent shivering in short, restless bursts. The smell of the house becomes stronger at night. Smoke clings to everything: hair, wool, skin. Dampness never fully leaves. Earth floors hold onto moisture from the day, releasing it slowly as the air cools. Breathing feels heavier, thicker, as if the night itself has weight. You can hear everyone else more clearly now. Breathing patterns overlap. Someone coughs in the dark. Another shifts, wood creaking beneath their weight. These sounds don't annoy you. They reassure you. Silence would mean something is wrong. The walls don't keep much out. You hear wind moving around the house, pushing against it, testing it. Somewhere nearby, an animal scrapes at the ground. It could be a pig settling. It could be something else. You don't know, and you don't get up to check. Night isn't for investigation. Your eyes adjust slowly, but not enough to be useful. Shapes remain vague. The familiar becomes abstract. You know where everything is, not because you can see it, but because you remembered it. Memory replaces sight. Sleep begins to creep in, not all at once, but in pieces. Your body relaxes before your mind does. Muscles soften, thoughts slow, awareness narrows to sensation. The pressure of the ground, the heat of bodies nearby, the faint pulse of warmth from dying embers. This isn't rest the way you imagine rest. It's strategic stillness, a kind of negotiated truce between exhaustion and the reality that morning will arrive whether you're ready or not. Your home holds you the best it can, and you let it. 3. The reality of medieval beds. The idea of a bed, as you understand it, does not exist here. What you have instead is a surface, chosen less for comfort than for practicality. Something that keeps you off the coldest part of the ground. Something that can be shared. Something that doesn't ask for more resources than anyone can afford. If you are poor, which most people are, your bed is likely a simple frame of wood, if it exists at all. More often, it is straw laid directly on the floor. Fresh straw smells sharp and clean for a few days, then flattens, shifts, and begins to break down into dust and fragments. It pokes. It rustles. It never quite settles the same way twice. You learn how to arrange yourself carefully. Too much weight in one place and the straw compresses into something hard. Shift too often and it becomes noisy, waking others. Eventually, you find a position that feels acceptable, not pleasant, just manageable, and you stay there. If you are slightly better off, there might be a sack stuffed with straw or chaff, tied tightly to slow its collapse. This is still called a mattress. It still moves when you do. It still remembers every uneven board beneath it. Feather beds exist, but they are rare and prized. Even then, they are less cloud-like than you imagine. Feathers clump. They migrate. Cold seeps through them just the same. No one expects luxury from sleep. Sleep is expected to happen despite conditions, not because of them. Sheets, if they exist, are coarse. Linen scratches at skin until you stop noticing it. Blankets are heavy, often shared, and always insufficient. You pull them close not for softness, but for weight. Pressure helps hold warmth in. It keeps you anchored. Your head rests on whatever is available. A folded cloak. A bundle of spare clothes. Maybe a small sack filled with something firm enough to lift your neck slightly off the surface beneath you. Pillows, in the modern sense, are uncommon. Too soft and they steal heat. Too high and they strain the neck. Everything here is compromise. The bed is rarely yours alone. Even when space allows, sleeping separately is inefficient. Bodies are resources. Heat is shared without ceremony. You turn when others turn. You wake briefly when someone shifts. This is normal, expected. Beneath everything, you can feel the structure of the house. The floor gives slightly. Boards creak softly. The earth underneath holds the day's cold and releases it slowly into the night. No matter what lies between you and the ground, you are never far from it. You don't think about whether you'll sleep well. That isn't the question. The question is whether you will sleep enough. Whether rest will arrive in pieces large enough to let you function tomorrow. Eventually, Exhaustion does what comfort cannot. Your thoughts blur. Sensations soften. The unevenness beneath you fades into the background as your body claims what rest it can. This is what a bed is. Not a retreat. Just a place where the body finally stops resisting gravity. For sleeping without privacy. Sleep, here, is never solitary unless you are very unlucky or very powerful. Most nights, you share your resting space with several other bodies, each with its own rhythms, sounds, and small disruptions. Privacy is not something you expect from night. It simply isn't part of the arrangement. Families sleep together because it makes sense. Warmth gathers where people do. Children curl into parents. Siblings press close, feet tangled, breathing uneven. There is no assigned side of the bed, no personal territory that belongs to you alone. You settle where there is space, and you adapt to whoever ends up beside you. If you are traveling, the closeness becomes even more pronounced. Inns are crowded, beds are shared with strangers without hesitation. You learn quickly that sleep requires trust, not because people are especially kind, but because vigilance all night long is impossible. You accept proximity because there is no alternative. Bodies announce themselves constantly. Someone snores. Someone grinds their teeth. Someone murmurs words that make sense only to them. These sounds don't startle you awake for long. You've grown up with them. Silence, again, would be stranger. The absence of privacy extends beyond sound. There is no curtain to retreat behind, no door to close. You turn away when modesty demands it, and everyone pretends not to notice. The night is forgiving in that way. Darkness hides what daylight would force you to acknowledge. Even the powerful are not entirely alone. Servants sleep nearby. Guards remain within earshot. A lord may have a chamber, but he is never truly isolated. Someone is always listening, always close enough to respond. This closeness changes how you sleep. You learn to be aware without being alert. To rest while still registering movement. To wake briefly, assess without opening your eyes, and sink back down again. There are moments of irritation. An elbow where it doesn't belong. A sudden shift that steals the blanket. A child's foot pressed into your side. But these are fleeting. You adjust. Everyone does. Privacy, when it exists, is accidental. A night when fewer people are home. A corner left empty. A momentary illusion that the space belongs to you alone. You don't cling to it. Morning will erase it anyway. What you gain in exchange is reassurance. If something goes wrong in the night, you won't face it alone. If you wake suddenly, you are surrounded by life. Breathing, warmth, familiar presence. Sleep becomes a shared act. A collective surrender to exhaustion. And you drift, carried by the quiet movements of others around you. 5. Clothing is bedding. You never truly change for sleep. There is no clear moment where day clothing ends and night clothing begins. What you wear to work becomes what you wear to rest, adjusted only slightly to suit the cold and the long hours ahead. Layers matter more than softness. Wool scratches, but it traps heat. Linen feels cooler against the skin, but it breathes. You balance these without thinking. Experience has taught you which combinations keep the chill from settling too deeply into your bones. You loosen belts. Remove heavy outer garments if the fire is still warm enough. Boots come off, but hose stays on. Sleeves remain down. Skin exposed is skin that will lose heat too quickly. Your cloak does double duty. During the day, it shields you from wind and rain. At night, it becomes a blanket, folded or wrapped around your shoulders, pulled up toward your chin. The fabric smells of smoke in the road and whatever work you did earlier. Familiar smells are comforting. They mean continuity. If you are fortunate, you have more than one layer to work with. If not, you make what you have do more. Clothes are adjusted, tucked, overlapped. Every gap is an invitation for cold. You learn to seal them instinctively. Sleeping dressed also means sleeping ready. Ready to wake, ready to move, ready to respond if the night demands it. Clothes are not just warmth, they are preparedness. No one wants to scramble for garments in the dark if something goes wrong. The weight of clothing presses down slightly, creating a sense of containment. Combined with shared blankets, it creates a cocoon of sorts, not soft, but functional. The pressure keeps you still. Movement wastes warmth. You become aware of how your body changes at rest. Heat redistributes. Extremities cool first. You tuck hands close to your chest. Feet find warmth against another body or beneath folded fabric. Small adjustments happen without waking fully. Over time, you stop noticing the roughness. Skin toughens. Sensation dulls. Comfort becomes less about pleasure and more about familiarity. This is what night feels like. This is what rest requires. Your breathing slows. Thoughts stretch farther apart. The fabric around you becomes part of the landscape of sleep, as unremarkable as the floor beneath it. Clothing, here, is not an accessory. It is architecture, and it holds you together until morning. The fire is lower now, and the light it gives is no longer steady. 6. Firelight and shadows. Even when your eyes are closed, you can tell when the flames shift. Fire has a sound, a soft settling, a faint crackle, that marks time in a way nothing else does. As it fades, the room doesn't just grow darker. It grows uncertain. Firelight never fully banishes shadows. It rearranges them. Shapes stretch and collapse as embers shift, turning familiar objects into suggestions. A beam becomes something taller. A hanging tool becomes something watching. You don't panic at this. You've lived with it too long. But you don't ignore it either. Light is comfort, but it is also risk. An open flame can burn a house down in minutes. Everyone knows this. Stories travel faster than fire itself, of villages lost overnight, of people waking too late, of nothing left but ash and silence by morning. So the fire is allowed to die slowly. Not extinguished, just quieted. Enough warmth remains to last a few hours. Enough glow to reassure, but not enough to threaten. Candles are rarely used through the night. They are saved for necessity, for illness, for birth, for death. Sleep does not justify their expense. As the last light fades, the room becomes a place you know more by memory than sight. You could map it with your eyes closed. You have, many times. Still, darkness changes how thoughts behave. Sounds grow sharper. Imagination stretches. A board creaks. You register it instantly. Was it the house settling? Someone shifting? Wind pressing where it shouldn't? You don't open your eyes. You listen instead. Firelight once gave reassurance. Without it, you rely on other signals. Breathing around you. Familiar rhythms. The continued presence of warmth. Fear, when it comes, is quiet. It doesn't shout. It whispers possibilities. You learn not to follow them too far. Night punishes wandering thoughts. The shadows are no longer moving now. They have settled into something uniform and deep. This is when sleep either takes hold, or doesn't. You remind yourself, without words, that you have done this before. Thousands of nights before. The house has held. Morning has arrived. It always has. Eventually, the darkness stops demanding attention. Your mind loosens its grip. The fire's absence becomes just another condition of rest. Night does not need light to continue. And neither do you. Sleep does not move in a straight line. It bends, pauses, and then returns. 7 broken sleep patterns. You don't expect to close your eyes and wake up to daylight. That idea belongs to another time. Here, sleep comes in pieces, separated by hours of darkness where waking is not a failure, it's routine. At some point in the night, you surface. Not suddenly, gently. Awareness seeps back in as if summoned by nothing in particular. The fire is nearly gone. The room feels colder. Breathing around you has changed. This waking is familiar. It has a name, though you may not call it that. It is simply part of the night. You lie still at first, assessing without moving. Are others awake? Has something changed? Usually, the answer is no. This is just the middle of the night, announcing itself. Sometimes you sit up. Sometimes others do too. Quiet conversation happens here, in low voices meant not to disturb those still sleeping. This is when prayers are said. When thoughts wander. When small tasks are done if the light allows. You might add wood to the fire. Just enough to coax a little warmth back into the room. You might drink water. You might step outside briefly, feeling the full weight of night on your skin. Sleep, after this pause, comes again. Deeper, often, as if the body accepts rest more willingly once it has checked the world and found it unchanged. This pattern is normal, expected. No one lies awake worrying about insomnia. Waking in the night does not mean something is wrong. It means you are alive and attentive. Dreams cluster around these edges. They come and go quickly, shaped by whatever thoughts lingered during the waking hour. Images blur. Faces shift. Meaning dissolves. The second sleep carries you closer to morning, but even then, rest is light. Any sound can pull you back. Any change in temperature, any movement nearby. By the time dawn approaches, you feel as though you have slept for a long time, even if, measured differently, you haven't. Time stretches in the dark. Hours feel larger. This broken rhythm does not exhaust you the way it might now. Your body expects it. It is built for it. Continuous sleep would feel strange, unnatural. Rest, here, is not a single descent. It is a cycle, and you move through it without questioning why. Sleep does not move in a straight line. It bends, pauses, and then returns. 8. Sounds of the medieval night. The world outside your walls never truly sleeps. You hear it if you listen, and even if you don't, your mind registers it. Animals stir. Dogs and pigs, goats and cats, shifting in their pens or quietly roaming. Somewhere, a horse stamps, unsure if the dark is friend or foe. The wind scratches along the roof, whistles through the cracks, moves through trees that lean too close to the buildings. Rain, if it falls, drips in uneven patterns, its sound amplified by stone, wood, and earth. Every noise is familiar, yet always different. People are not silent either. Others in your home breathe unevenly, murmur, sigh, and turn in their sleep. A child cries, soft at first, then louder, demanding attention.